What are the 7 best Diageo brands? Provocative stuff. I'm Jeff. This is G Whiskey. Stick around. Okay, so we're doing a list today, and unlike some of the recent lists that I've done on the channel that got a little bit edgy, a little bit provocative, I figured for today we'd take it easy, we'd keep it simple, and we'd find a subject that'll bring everyone together that no one's going to get worked up about. We're talking about Diageo. Diageo, of course, is a mega corporation that is beloved by all. No one has any strong feelings about them, and the brand is basically a darling to whiskey enthusiasts far and wide. Honestly, what's not to love about them? Anyway, for today's list, I've got my top 7 Diageo distilleries. Diageo, as I said, huge brand. They've got a lot more brands or distilleries than that, but for the sake of this video, I've whittled it down to 7. And in case you're wondering, I whittled without any help. I whittled myself. For the record, everything on this list is available and affordable, so I didn't include stuff like Barora or anything like that. No grains, no blends, just classic single malts. And listen, despite my sarcasm a second ago, I understand that a lot of people don't like Diageo. I get it. But for me, they have too many good distilleries, too many good whiskeys to ignore. Personally, I don't get too worked up about them. The bottles that I don't like or I think are overpriced, I just don't buy. And the ones that I do like, I do buy. If you don't like Diageo and you boycott them, that's cool, actually. I respect that. I totally understand. I would hope that you're not yelling at other people and telling them how they should or shouldn't spend their money. That is up to them. And it is just a drink.
Well, I would never buy Diageo.
As consumers, we deserve...
We're entitled to...
Corporations get away with too much.
We vote with our wallets.
Yeah, honestly, I agree. Can't argue with any of that. Anyway, you guys know how this works. As always, I've got a mystery pour in my glass. Your hint for today is that this is a peated expression. It's a legendary peated expression, and yeah, it probably is the one you're thinking of. So good luck with that. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into our list. In the meantime, if you'll kindly leave a like down below, that would be greatly appreciated. All right, we'll start off with an honorable mention, and that is Glenelgan. Now, Glenelgan does not have much of a range. In fact, they just have the 12-year-old. I do like the 12-year-old, but it's a like. It's not a love. You have a few special releases out there, but mostly if you think of Glenelgan, or at least for me, if I think of Glenelgan, I'm thinking of IBs. They have loads of IBs out there. Of course, it's a mixed bag, but some are genuinely excellent, and certainly Glenelgan can and does make some really good stuff. So honorable mention. Number 7 is Ben Rinnes, which is another brand with a single OB released, and that's the Flora and Fauna 15-year-old, and I've talked about that one before on the channel. I think it's fantastic. Another way these guys are similar to Glenelgan is the fact that they have lots of IBs out there. Of course, some good, some bad, mostly good, or at the very least interesting. But if we're just comparing the OB releases, Ben Rinnes 15 wipes the floor with Glenelgan 12. Good brand, good distillate, really interesting. I wish we got more from them, so it comes in at number 7, Ben Rinnes. Number 6 is Kleinlich, which I think a lot of people would have higher up on this list. I do think it's a good brand for sure. A little bit sparser when it comes to IBs, but the 14 is a really solid whiskey. I don't love it as much as some people out there do, but I do enjoy it. But when it comes to stuff like the Diageo special releases, I do think those are overpriced and not great value. But on the whole, I think this brand has a great distillate, it's got great character, and like Ben Rinnes, I want to see more OB releases from them. Hopefully affordable OB releases from them. Yeah, number 6, Kleinlich. At number 5, I've got a brand that I think most people would have behind Kleinlich. I've got them in front. This is Mortlach. Now, Mortlach admittedly is a hit or miss brand, but I've had some stuff from them that I think is nothing short of phenomenal. Mortlach is most famous for its sherried stuff, which is known to be quite meaty, and they do that very well. But if you look in the IB scene, they also have some fantastic bourbon matured offerings as well. Granted, I think there's some wasted potential with their OB line, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a sucker for a good Mortlach, so they come in at number 5. Number 4 is Kalila. Kalila is a very big distillery. It's known as Isla's workhorse. Take 2. They're known as Isla's workhorse distillery. They produce a lot, and it's the brand you're most likely to buy as either an IB or a mystery malt. And generally speaking, as far as Isla is concerned, they're pretty affordable. If you're looking to pick up a Kalila, I think most enthusiasts would push you towards the IB scene just because they're going to be more craft produced. meaning 46% ABV or higher, non-chill filtered, natural color. Meanwhile, the OB, stuff like the 12, the 18, the Distillers Edition, the Mock, those are lower ABV, I think typically around 43%, but I still like those. Portiskeag is another solid line. Portiskeag doesn't say from where they source their whiskey, they just say Islay single malt, but it is known that the vast majority of their expressions, if not all, do come from Caol Ila. Finally, if you can still track them down, Caol Ila had a series of releases a few years back that were unpeated, and those were excellent too. And just generally on the whole, I think Caol Ila has a great coastal character. It's a really solid whiskey. So yeah, comes in at number 4, Caol Ila. Coming in at number 3, I've got a very controversial pick, and I get it. This is a brand that's made a lot of very unpopular changes, and personally, I don't agree with a lot of the changes they've made. I'm not a fan. But I still think they have one of the best characters in the game, and that's Talisker. Very flawed brand, but I still love them. I know the 10 is a shadow of its former self, the older stuff is overpriced, but the character itself, when done right, I think is a stunner. At its best, it's got a beautiful mineralic, limestone, peppery, peaty, coastal character. It's a really engaging whiskey. And yes, it is a little bit tough to recommend these days. I do recommend stuff like the limited edition parlay from last year. I do like the Surge. Older stuff, too pricey, although it is really, really good. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of the budget options that are around these days, but maybe that's just me. Either way, I've still got some love for them. Maybe that's nostalgia. Comes in at number 3, Talisker. Coming in at number 2, I've got Lagavulin. I absolutely love Lagavulin. I still think they're one of the best peated whiskeys just in existence. I love the 16. It's legendary stuff. It's a very gentle, rounded, sherried style of peat. And if you want something with a little bit more punch, go for the 8-year-old. That one, oddly enough, comes in at 48%, which is rare for Diageo. And it's a very just honest belter of a whiskey. Both excellent. The Offerman releases are a solid option. The Distillers Edition, also pretty good. The 12-year-old cast strength is the stuff of legend. Not quite as good as they used to be, but I still think they're really good. Lagavulin puts out a lot of good stuff. Great brand, great peated whiskey. Comes in at number 2. Number 1 is Oban. And I think if you're a fan of the channel, you probably saw that coming. Oban is not, it's a very small distiller, and it's not super popular. It's definitely not as popular as some of the peated stuff, the Islay stuff that's been mentioned so far on this list. But for me, it's the best Diageo brand. The 14 is solid, but if you want Oban at its best, get this or get this. Maybe not this, not for everyone. I still think it's good. The 18 is also excellent. I will be reviewing that soon. This stuff is very salty, very coastal, with just the tiniest hint of peat. I think it's one of the most beautiful whiskeys in the Diageo portfolio, and just in general. It's one of my favorite brands. Comes in at number 1, Oban. All right, that was the list, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And of course, I want to pass the question off to you. I'm sure this will go swimmingly. What do you think of Diageo? And listen, if you don't like Diageo, that's cool. I get it. Feel free to vent about them down below. I don't care. I didn't make the stuff. I don't have a connection to them. So thoughts, reactions, complaints, angry rants, put them all down below. Finally, if you stuck around to find out what my mystery pour is, your hint earlier is that this is an older peated Islay expression, that it's a legendary bottling. I'm sure you guys got this one. What I'm drinking is Lagavulin 16. I still love this stuff. I just mentioned it in the video. Now, this got really expensive up until about maybe a year, 2 years ago. It really peaked in price, and a lot of people were very unhappy about that. I don't know about other markets, but here in my market, the price has come down. It has calmed down a little bit. So I'm actually curious. I've got a question for you guys. Has the price settled down a little bit from where it was a couple years back in your market? Personally, I couldn't be happier that the prices here are more reasonable these days, because I love this stuff and I do want to come back to it. Granted, it's not craft, it's 43%, it's colored, it's chill filtered. I don't care. It's fantastic. And that is it. That brings us to the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to help out with the channel, I have both Patreon and PayPal linked down below. Anything and everything helps. Looking forward to reading your comments. I guess we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.